This woman, a 28-year-old named Paisley, watched her entire wedding fall apart in a single evening. Her fiancé stood up during their rehearsal dinner, exposed her secret relationship with another man in front of everyone they knew, and walked out. But here's what makes this story so complicated. She genuinely believes she did nothing wrong. That her fiancé brought this destruction upon himself. That she was the victim all along. I'm Emma, and welcome to Mrs. Emma, where we explore the messy, complicated truth behind relationship disasters. Today's story will make you question everything you think you know about loyalty, love, and what we tell ourselves to justify our choices. Stay with me, because this gets intense. Let me take you back to where this all began. 3 years before everything imploded. Paisley met Wyatt when she was 25, at a point in her life when all her friends were getting engaged, posting ring photos on social media, planning elaborate weddings. She felt the pressure. That biological clock society loves to remind women about. That fear of being left behind. Wyatt seemed like the answer to everything. He worked in finance, came from a family with money and connections. He was stable, predictable, safe. The kind of man who would never embarrass you at a dinner party or forget to pay the bills. The kind of man parents dream their daughters will bring home. Her father loved him immediately. Wyatt agreed with everything, never challenged opinions, never caused waves. The perfect son-in-law material. Her mother couldn't stop talking about how lucky Paisley was, how rare it was to find someone so responsible and reliable at such a young age. So when Wyatt proposed after a casual Chinese takeout dinner in their living room, Paisley said yes. Not because her heart soared, not because she couldn't imagine life without him, but because, well, what else was she supposed to do? Everyone expected it. Everyone approved. And isn't that what matters? But here's the thing about building a relationship on what other people think. It leaves no room for what you actually feel. As the wedding planning consumed their lives, Paisley started to notice something terrifying. She was bored. Deeply, profoundly bored. Their Saturday nights followed the same script. Pizza delivery. Netflix. Bed by 11. Wyatt never suggested anything spontaneous. Never surprised her. Never seemed to have strong opinions about anything. From where they should vacation to what color they should paint the bedroom walls. During wedding planning meetings, he'd sit there like furniture while Paisley's mother made every decision. Flower arrangements? Sure, whatever you think. Menu options? Sounds good. Guest list? You know best. He was a human nod, offering nothing, contributing nothing, just existing passively in the space where a passionate partner should have been. Paisley watched her friends share stories of elaborate proposals, surprise trips to Paris, flash mobs in public squares, photographers hidden in bushes. Meanwhile, her engagement story was, "We finished eating lo mein and he asked if I wanted to get married." Romance of the century, right? She started to feel like she was disappearing, like she was becoming half of this incredibly dull couple, losing the vibrant, interesting person she used to be. Wyatt never asked deep questions, never wanted to discuss books or dreams or fears. Their conversations revolved around logistics, grocery lists, whose turn to handle the laundry, whether his mother was coming for Sunday dinner. She felt like she was suffocating in beige. That's when Colt reappeared. Colt, her college boyfriend, the one who used to show up at midnight just to drive somewhere and watch the sunrise, the one who planned surprise weekend trips without revealing the destination, the one who made her feel like every day was an adventure waiting to unfold. Her parents had hated Colt back then. Too impulsive, they said. Too unreliable. No career prospects, no stability. And maybe they were right about the practical stuff. But what they didn't understand was how alive she felt with him, how seen, how understood. When Colt's text arrived 6 months before the wedding, a simple, "Hey, thinking about you," Paisley told herself she'd just respond politely. Catch up with an old friend. What harm could that possibly do? But we all know how that story goes, don't we? The texting started innocently enough. College memories, updates about their current lives, surface level catching up. But Colt asked questions, real questions. He remembered details from their conversations. He engaged with her thoughts and feelings in ways Wyatt hadn't done in years. When Paisley complained about work stress, Colt didn't just grunt and change the channel. He asked follow-up questions. He remembered what she'd told him the week before. He made her feel like her words actually mattered to someone. Within weeks, she was looking forward to Colt's messages more than she looked forward to seeing her own fiancé. Red flag? Absolutely. But Paisley convinced herself this just meant she needed more intellectual stimulation in her life. 4 months before the wedding, the coffee meetings started. A cute downtown cafe during lunch breaks. Just talking, Paisley told herself. Just two old friends reconnecting. Nothing inappropriate, nothing wrong. Except they weren't talking about the weather. They talked about dreams and fears and regrets. About who they used to be and who they'd become. Colt confessed he'd never really gotten over her. That letting her go in college was his biggest mistake. That he could tell from her social media something was missing in her relationship. And God help her, he was right. All those perfect couple photos she posted were lies. Performances. Desperate attempts to convince herself and everyone else that she was happy. But Colt saw through it all. He knew the real her. She started staying late at work just to text him without questions. Not because she was doing anything wrong, she told herself, but because Wyatt got weird about male friends. Jealous. Possessive. It was easier to keep the friendship private than deal with his insecurity. The meetings became twice weekly. The conversations grew more intimate. Colt took her hand across the table one afternoon, and electricity shot through her entire body. Something she hadn't felt with Wyatt in over a year. That's when the kissing started. In his car during a rainstorm. And suddenly she felt alive again, desired, wanted, seen as a woman rather than a wedding planning partner. They started meeting at his apartment. She'd tell Wyatt she was working late or having girls' night. The lies came easily because Wyatt barely seemed to notice she was gone. He'd just nod and return to his phone, completely checked out. Paisley convinced herself this wasn't really cheating because there was no real relationship left to betray. She was just reclaiming the passionate, interesting woman she used to be before she got trapped in this suffocating engagement. For months, Paisley maintained both relationships simultaneously. With Wyatt, she was the responsible fiancé planning a wedding, discussing mortgages and retirement accounts, playing the role everyone expected. With Colt, she was herself. Exciting, passionate, alive. Colt texted her good morning every single day. He sent memes that made her laugh. When she mentioned craving specific cookies from a bakery across town, he showed up at her office the next day with a whole box. Meanwhile, she couldn't remember the last time Wyatt had done anything thoughtful or romantic. Her parents kept telling her how lucky she was, how perfect Wyatt was for her, how stable their future would be. But they didn't see what she saw. The emotional distance, the lack of genuine interest in her thoughts or dreams, the absolute minimum effort he put into their relationship. 2 months before the wedding, Colt started talking about their future together, about how watching her get engaged to someone else tortured him, about whether she could really spend her entire life in such a passionless relationship. And honestly, she started questioning everything. But the wedding was planned, deposits paid, invitations sent. Breaking up would mean disappointing her parents, embarrassing both families, starting over at 28. So she kept both relationships going, telling herself she'd figure it out somehow. After the wedding, later, eventually. Then Wyatt started getting suspicious. He asked more questions, made comments about how distracted she seemed, how much time she spent on her phone. Paisley called him paranoid and controlling, told him she needed space and independence. They fought more than ever. She'd turn his suspicions back on him, accusing him of not trusting her, of being insecure about her friendships. These fights actually made her feel more justified about seeing Colt. They proved how incompatible she and Wyatt really were. 3 weeks before the wedding, Wyatt found a restaurant receipt in her car. She'd told him she was working late, but the receipt proved otherwise. He questioned her like a detective. Which coworker? Why hadn't she mentioned it? Why didn't she invite him? Paisley exploded, told him he was controlling and suffocating, that this possessive behavior was exactly why their relationship felt like a prison. But the real explosion came 3 days before the rehearsal dinner. Paisley had been texting Colt while Wyatt showered. She put her phone face down on the nightstand without closing the message thread. The next morning, Wyatt's phone was dead. He grabbed hers to check the weather, like he'd done 1,000 times before. And he saw everything. Paisley came upstairs with coffee to find Wyatt sitting on their bed, holding her phone, looking like his entire world had just shattered. He didn't yell, didn't scream. He just scrolled through months of conversations in silence. When he finally looked up, his expression was completely empty, like he was staring at a stranger. He started reading messages aloud. Colt saying he loved her. Paisley saying she thought about him constantly. Plans to meet at his apartment. Conversations about how unhappy she was. Paisley tried to explain. Said they were just friends. That messages were taken out of context. But the evidence was overwhelming, and she knew it. So she went on the offensive. Told Wyatt this was his fault for being controlling and possessive. That if he'd paid more attention to their relationship, maybe she wouldn't have needed emotional support elsewhere. But Wyatt didn't fight back. He just looked sad, defeated, tired. He asked how long. She said 6 months, but emphasized it was mostly just talking. Nothing serious. When he asked if she'd been physical with Colt, she minimized it. Just a few kisses. Nothing that meant anything. Then he found the messages about chemistry and touching and missing each other. That's when he finally broke. Threw her phone across the room, watched it shatter against the wall. He said he couldn't believe he'd planned to spend his life with someone who could lie to his face for months. That he felt like an idiot for trusting her. For believing she was who he thought he was marrying. And that's when everything truly fell apart. So here's where we are. Paisley genuinely believes she's the victim in this story. That Wyatt's boring nature drove her into another man's arms. That she deserves passion and excitement and understanding. That her actions were justified because she was unhappy. But let me ask you something. When did being bored give us permission to betray someone? When did wanting more excitement justify months of lies? When did our unhappiness become a free pass to destroy another person? Because here's what Paisley isn't seeing. If she was truly unhappy with Wyatt, she had options that didn't involve deception. She could have communicated, gone to couples therapy, or simply ended the relationship before starting another one. Instead, she chose to keep one foot in safety while chasing passion on the side. She wanted her parents' approval and financial security and the exciting ex-boyfriend. She wanted everything without sacrificing anything or having any difficult conversations. And when she got caught, she blamed Wyatt for being controlling when he questioned her lies. She blamed him for being boring when her betrayal came to light. She blamed everyone but herself. This story isn't really about whether Wyatt was exciting enough or whether Colt was her soulmate. It's about accountability, about owning our choices and their consequences. What do you think? Was Paisley justified in seeking happiness elsewhere? Or did she destroy a relationship that might have been saved through honest communication? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. If this story got you thinking, hit that like button. Share this video with friends who love messy relationship drama. And subscribe to Mrs. Emma so you never miss these complicated, eye-opening stories about real people making real mistakes. I'm Emma, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, the stories we tell ourselves to justify our choices reveal who we really are. Thanks for listening.